Everyone says tourism in Medellin is down, but is it really? Over the last few weeks, I've seen YouTube videos and posts claiming that tourism in Medellin is crashing. Most of those reports point to the same thing. Hotel occupancy is down. Airbnb occupancy is down. Therefore, tourism must be down. But is that really how it works? I started digging through the official tourism data from Medellin because I wanted to answer one simple question. Are fewer people actually coming to Medellin? And what I found surprised me. Let's start with international arrivals. According to the official Medellin Tourism Intelligence System, international arrivals through Medellin Airport have increased dramatically since the pandemic. In 2019, there were about 930,000 international arrivals. By 2025, that number had grown to more than 2 million. That's an increase of roughly 121% in 6 years. This year, we only have the data for the first half of the year, January through June, and that's 1,003,756, which is right on pace with last year's numbers. So if international arrivals have more than doubled and is still on pace this year from what was reported last year, why are we hearing that hotels and Airbnbs aren't as full? The answer might not be fewer tourists, it might be more competition. Let's look at the hotel industry. In 2019, Medellin had 418 registered hotels. Today, that number has increased to 629. That's more than a 50% increase in just 7 years. But hotels are only part of the story. The biggest change has happened in short term housing. Think Airbnbs. According to the National Tourism Registry, registered short term housing has exploded. In 2020, there were approximately 1,500 registered tourist housing businesses. By 2025, there were almost 9,000. That's an increase of nearly 500% in only 5 years. So think about that for a second, and let's simplify this for an example. Imagine a city with 100 hotel rooms. If 70 rooms are occupied, occupancy is 70%. Now imagine that city suddenly builds another 100 rooms. If visitor numbers don't increase at the exact same pace, occupancy falls. Not because fewer people are visiting, but because there are far more places available to stay. And that may be exactly what's happening in Medellin. Now, before anyone says I'm claiming tourism is still booming, I'm not. I'm also not saying tourism is declining. What I'm saying is hotel occupancy by itself is not the same thing as number of visiting tourists. Those are two completely different measurements. Tourism measures people. Occupancy measures how full accommodations are. Those numbers can move in the same direction or they can move in opposite directions. Now, there's another factor worth mentioning. Over the past year, Colombian authorities have increased enforcement against a certain type of tourism. Immigration officers have conducted more interviews with arriving visitors. A few have been denied entry. Some people have suggested that these actions significantly reduce tourism. How many have been denied? Well, less than 115 people have been denied at the time of this video. That's 1/10 of 1% of arrivals of people that have been denied. Now, it's certainly possible that they discourage some travelers. But for years, there have been several reports of tourists being kidnapped, drugged, robbed of all their money in their bank accounts, and even losing their lives. Yet this had not slowed tourism. This would appear to stop tourism in its tracks, but has done very little, if anything, to even slow the tourist growth. So if those possibilities don't deter people from coming in masses to Medellin, I seriously doubt a few people getting turned around at immigrations would have a significant impact on tourism. Even for those concerned about getting denied in Medellin, those individuals are flying into other cities in Colombia, like Bogota, and then flying to Medellin. And keep in mind, those numbers aren't reflected in the arrival numbers we spoke about earlier. So, based on the international arrival data, there isn't clear evidence that overall international travel to Medellin has collapsed. It's also possible that the composition of visitors is changing, with digital nomads, remote workers, and long stay visitors replacing short term leisure travelers. That is something worth watching, but it's different from saying that tourism has disappeared. So, is tourism down? The honest answer is we don't know from hotel occupancy alone. To answer the question correctly, you have to look at several pieces of data together: international arrivals, hotel growth, tourist housing growth, hotel occupancy, length of stay. When you put those pieces together, a different picture starts to emerge. Maybe the real story isn't that Medellin has fewer visitors. Maybe the city simply has far more places for those visitors to stay than it did just a few years ago. And if that's true, then lower occupancy doesn't automatically mean lower tourism. It may simply mean the accommodation market has become far more competitive. So, what do you think? Have you noticed Medellin feeling less crowded? Or do you think there's just more hotels and Airbnbs competing for the same travelers? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy data driven videos about Medellin as well as other international destinations that may appeal to digital nomads, expats, and frequent travelers, please don't forget to subscribe because I'll be getting the numbers and giving them to you. No fluff, just the facts.